Hey guys, I'm here with Chase Baker, my co-founder of Forest. We're kicking off a podcast series here, just talking about really the premise behind our business, Forest. And what we're really doing here is emulating a first conversation that Chase and I had when we launched this. Chase, you want to say hello?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so we just wanted to provide the premise of our business and also just tell kind of the story, Chase's story. Chase is an ex-NFL guy, and all of our solutions as a firm are really customized to guys like Chase that go through a transition when they leave sport. And so I just wanted to kind of capture that story. I think it'll resonate with a lot of our listeners. So Chase, just tell me, first of all, kind of where you're from, your playing days coming up, and how it landed you a spot on the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, so starting off a high school out in Northern California, Rockland High School, ended up getting a scholarship to Boise. Spent 3 years as a starter in Boise. Boise State, correct. Ended up with 8 knee surgeries. So before I ever came out, I was kind of on the fence of whether I could even make the pro thing work. But ended up getting a shot with the Vikings. They gave me that opportunity as a free agent and got in there and did really well. In the first year, I made the practice squad, and pretty much you're just, the punching dummy. But that's where you kind of learn the ropes. You understand how to be a professional. It was a great experience for me. The next year I got back into it, and things really started to click. Ended up making the 53-man roster. Played about 6 games, made 4 tackles, ton.
I think you tackled Reggie Bush at one point, right?
Yeah, I got
Tell me what
Reggie.
that meant to you.
Oh, man, growing up watching him at USC, that was huge. So just cool, a cool, special tackle. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. Got one on Marchand too, so.
I always got a bag on my Seahawks.
Man, but yeah, so I got my 4 tackles credited to my name, but worth every bit of it. So third year going into it, ended up just during workouts, ended up lifting really heavy, squatting, and my back went out. And so spent the whole off season getting back from that, made it back just in time for the training camp, and played well, but not well enough. And it just wasn't quite the same. And so got cut, went up to the CFL for a little bit. That didn't work out either. And then I got signed on with the Patriots, and they failed my physical. Same thing kind of happened with the Red Blacks up in the CFL. They were worried about my back. So yeah, at that point when everybody started saying, your back's kind of a liability, that was when I knew it was kind of over.
So your overall professional career was how long?
So I'll give it 3 years. We'll say
You'll give it 3 years.
Yeah,
all right. Maybe a miniature asterisk next to that.
Yeah.
Still a great football player, and in the top probably 0.1% of all players that aspire to get to that level. Probably even smaller than that. But just such an honor to play at that level. Chase and I went up to Minnesota Vikings Legends Weekend probably about 7 or 8 weeks ago, and they showed us the new facilities. It's kind of funny because Chase was saying the whole time, man, we didn't get facilities like this when I was here. But they've just put a ton of capital and a ton of resources into those new facilities. The staff was awesome. We learned a lot about the franchise too, but I just kept thinking to myself, wow, I mean, even to be able to work out in this gym next to these guys, what an amazing opportunity, something that just not a lot of people can talk about. And I think Chase takes on such a great mindset when he talks about it. He has a spirit of just appreciation, and, Chase has seen it as a stepping stone. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Tell us about the transition when you finally had that aha moment, maybe not an aha moment, but a boohoo moment or something like that, where you're like, I think I might be done playing professional football. Tell us some of the emotions that you went through. Tell us where your brain was at.
Yeah, so when I first got cut, I thought I was going to have another chance to play, and I kind of did, but not really at the same time. I was done. So that immediate transition was a little difficult because everybody tells you to prepare. They're like, it's not for long, NFL not for long. Get ready for what you want to do next. But when the time comes and you really have to make those choices, it's hard. And for like me, I just had so many interests, and I struggled to find one that I really loved. I knew I wanted to be around the game, so I did the scouting, the coaching, scouted at the high school, college, pro level, got some internships with the Vikings and the 49ers, and And so, yeah, I loved all of it, but nothing really resonated and it didn't stick. So it was a struggle just finding something that I truly was passionate about outside of football. So that, of course, is where Forest comes in, is I think we really want to be able to connect with guys and dig a lot deeper than just the surface level questions.
Yeah, so tell me about that. I mean, what I want to do, because we have a lot of listeners that I think your story is really going to resonate with a lot of guys, whether they played for 3 years or whether they played for, they were just on the practice squad for 6 months or something like that. They dealt with some sort of injury early on in their career, or they had a long career. I mean, everyone has to make a transition at some point, right? You're going to hang up the cleats someday. And what we say and what we hear a lot is it's always earlier than you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be. And it's hard to know that you need to build the car when the track's not really in front of you yet around that next season. So what are some of if you could kind of pick 3 words or themes of what you were going through in that season, let's try to put a pin in those. What would you say?
So the first one, obviously, I think it's hard, especially the guys that play longer, because you've devoted so much time and you're so far away from your education. So the first one I think is you're just trying to figure it out. And so isolation, I think, is one of the words that comes to mind, because especially when you've been that game's part of what you've done for so long, and that's just taken away. You struggle to connect with a lot of people, family members, some of your friends. They've known you as like a football player for so long.
Yeah.
So when they don't have that conversation to come to, and even on an individual basis, guys are, they just see you as a football guy. So it's definitely, you start to isolate yourself in terms of your interactions. You don't feel comfortable once you do get cut and you're out of that game. It's just hard to connect with people. So
Yeah. We talk about this a lot. I think humans have a tendency to isolate when they are, their egos get hit a little bit.
Yep.
And you don't need to be a football player to have that resonate with you to some extent. Even me, right? I mean, leaving corporate America, there was a tendency to isolate only because I felt like no one really understood what I was going through. The big difference there between, my type of situation heading into the entrepreneurial ecosystem and an athlete heading into kind of what we call the real world after sport is that, athletes in our society, because of their followings, because of, they're on TV all the time, because of their financial stature, they're put on a pedestal a little bit. And the humanity is lost somewhere along that journey. And so not only are you suffering in that season, but people don't think you need help. Veterans coming back into this country after serving our country, everyone understands that they need help. And so you could make the argument that athletes are in a very lonely place, not only because their pride has taken a hit and because they're kind of in a season of really just not knowing what's next, but because the perception is that they have it all figured out. That's a sad place, and we know that growth comes from community, so that isolation can be deadly. So you mentioned a few things. Well, I want to let you answer.
No, I was just going on. I was saying, that it's crazy how much crossover there is between the veteran and the pro athletes, and a lot of guys aren't going to look at it. And, there's a lot less sympathy for pro athletes, as there should be. Veterans are on that hero status, but. There's a lot of crossover, and so nobody looks at the pro athlete who made millions of dollars, and there's just not that sympathy. They don't seem to connect that.
Mm-hmm. And how could they, right? They don't understand, right? So talk to me a little bit about team, and I know especially on the line, there's definitely a mentality of camaraderie. We're in this together. We're in the trenches for our guys. Offensive linemen especially get way less credit than they often deserve for, springing a running back and all that. Talk to me about the team aspect when you left the league. Kind of what team, did you try to manifest your own team? Was that a huge gap for you? Talk about that.
Yeah, so you're right. There is, especially guys like me, I consider myself a role player, lineman, kind of those guys that do take the mentality of, we're a unit, we work together. And so when that is taken away and you no longer have the team, you struggle. Again, it just comes back to the figuring out where and who you are. But but yeah, so when that is taken away, all of a sudden you're alone. You don't have the structure, and now you have to find the professional team. And a lot of guys, it's a pride thing, and it's hard to ask for that help. But yeah, so I think the biggest thing is finding a network of people that have gone through it. And I think some of the resources that the NFL has is attempting to do that. But yeah, I think the more we can get guys together with former athletes that have gone through the transition and come out the other side, with healthy business relationships and understand how to network and all that stuff. It's just, you watch the older guys in practice to get better at your sport and at your position. Once you leave, I think being able to see the guys that have left and then, what you want to do. That's big.
That's good that there's a model there for you. One other thing that we've talked about, we won't delve too far into it, but there's a trust factor too, right? You guys you're approached on so many things when you're in the league that afterwards it's hard to trust people. You don't really know their intentions. They could be sharks. They could be trying to use your brand. Talk to me about kind of the transition you went through in terms of letting people in a little bit.
Yeah, so athletes are pack animals, and I think anybody that's dealt with pro athletes knows this. Once there's a masseuse that everybody likes, the whole team's using the same masseuse, the chiropractor, doctors, all the way down the line. So gaining that trust is huge, and that's the issue is once you get out, you don't know who to trust. So you kind of have to, like I said, I think providing those resources is much needed in terms of who you can trust and how you can move forward.
Yeah, so talk about what we're doing at Forest that you feel kind of hits on all those different things for these guys, right?
Yeah, so the first thing obviously is the educational piece. I think, and within that education is identifying your strengths, where your passions are, what you really want to do, your purpose really. Mm-hmm. So the education piece is huge to me, and that was one of my biggest things. We like to know what we're doing before we get into it, and then there's a whole nother mentality side of things that we could talk on, but so we need to understand what we're doing first. So the education is going to be huge. The next up is that mentors, like we were talking about, finding the people that we can trust that can kind of guide us along whatever business path we want to go down. And then lastly, I think community, building this community, this ecosystem where you do have the trust of the people that are within it, and you can rely on them and trust them and move forward together.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, Chase has hit on so many good things, and there's so many problems that these guys face when they're leaving the league, and gals based on their sport. And we're not going to solve for every problem. We're not going to have a perfect pathway for every person coming through. But what we're really trying to do is we're trying to augment a lot of the things that they've lost that are very important to them. So not only on a daily structure, right? So we know these guys are programmed. I mean, they're warriors, they're machines, right? They're told what to eat, when to wake up, their schedule. We've talked to a former player who said, if it wasn't on my schedule, I did not do it. If my coach didn't tell me it was a priority, I did not do it. That was a rule book, a playbook. And so, just like in corporate America, we all get programmed to a certain point where we lose the ability to really think for ourselves and to be strategic about why we're doing what we're doing. So we're trying to put power back in the hands of the athletes or the ex-athletes when they transition. One of the ways we do it is through accountability. You've mentioned mentorship. And I've learned this, honestly, from my own personal spiritual development type stuff, but I'm just not the same guy when I don't have people holding me accountable. And so there's that balance between encouragement and accountability, and really putting a little bit of pressure on when a guy's not living up to a standard that he has even set, a vision that he has even set for his life. So the mentorship piece is absolutely pivotal. For listeners, we assign a mentor pretty much right at the beginning when you commit to this program fully. The whole curriculum is 8 weeks, but we assign a mentor after 2 weeks. And the mentor kind of guides you through the process. Large majority of our mentors are ex-athletes, at least at the college level, who have had success in business. And we lean towards entrepreneurial success because they kind of get how to build a business from 0 to 100. So those are some things I'm glad we had the chance to hit on here. What are you most excited about? And feel free to talk about your startup fate. What are you most excited about when it comes to Forest, let's say within the next year?
within the next year. So as it relates to fate, I love the idea that I can take a lot of the failures. The most exciting thing, let me just say this, is the mentorship and being able to have people to guide me. For 2 years, I had this product, Fate. It's an athletic data collection tool. And so, yeah, I spent a lot of time just kind of treading water, not knowing where to go. And so to be able to use this program to help guys avoid like 2 years like I did of not moving forward, I think that's what I'm most excited about is taking away the downtime and get guys moving in the right direction. Giving them the positivity, and really the guidance to do the things that they're capable of doing, because they're more than athletes.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing. And it's a good thing to end on is our tagline, we transform athletes into entrepreneurs. But the reason we're focusing so much on entrepreneurship is not, necessarily venture capital, invest in deals, get rich. Let's build a portfolio. Let's use athletes' brands. We're going to do some of that. We're going to show guys how to leverage their brand for long-term financial stability and learning. We're excited about that. But the real crux of what we're doing here is we're giving guys purpose. So while we're not giving them purpose, I want to be careful there because we cannot do that. But we are helping them identify their own purpose. Passion is what drives a lot of guys, especially athletes, right? We love the game of football. When we leave something like that, we have to find that other secret sauce that's driving us. And entrepreneurship is a space where you can really create. And so all these lessons that we're giving these guys through the curriculum, the themes of our mentorship program, everything we emphasize from the beginning, it's about entrepreneurship, but really entrepreneurship as a conduit of let's figure out who you really are. All of those things that you've always been naturally inclined to do, all those things that you've always been naturally good at, those are your gifts, and we need to help you convert those gifts into vision, into goals, into your life. And we're trying to give people those tools. That wraps it up. Chase, do you have any last thoughts or anything like that for our audience?
No, we're good. Like I said, I think, actually, let me just say this. I think just to wrap it up, one of the hardest things is moving your mindset from the scarcity. As athletes, we're so, we're locked on to, we understand how many guys are on the roster. We know how many plays there are. Everything's so scarcity. There's a scarcity mindset. And so the biggest thing is we got to get out of that, and we have to understand that you can win. There's so many different ways to win in life and in business, and it doesn't have to be one win, one lose. You got to be able to find the ways that everybody can win. And so I think that's what we're going to help you do moving forward.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys, this is, like we said, this is first of many podcasts we're going to do. We're really excited to kind of keep the content flowing. If you're interested to learn more or see how you can plug in, visit our website. It's forest.co. So that's est.co, C-O. And we're looking forward to continuing the conversation with you guys.